El Zorro Plateador presents Myths for Today's Man. Stories, fables, and tales for a world in chaos. The Tale of Hypergometes and Redipulyseus, a myth about hypergamy and masculine frame. Part 2. The Curse of Vanasateria. Vanasateria, the sea witch, lumbered up the beach and climbed the island's mountain peak.
"Oh, mists, I summon you."
She waved her kelp-wrapped arms and beckoned the wind.
"Come forth upon this place, then do not stray. Besiege this isle in thick clouds of grey. Cast this world within formless light. A shapeless fog to block all sight. For this will be the end of time, and put a stop to this celestial crime."
Vanasateria slithered back into the sea and waited for her spell to take its toll. She was a schemer, and thus exceedingly patient. She had studied these two beauties, and had some sense of the chaos and damage this might exact upon them. A thick fog settled down over the island, and there it stayed. By cloaking the island in this mist, the couple could no longer see the sky. Not the blue of the great above, not the passage of the sun. From dawn to dusk, their world was without sunlight and completely gray. There were no shadows anymore, and at night there was only an oppressive mist that obscured all elements of the night sky, with no stars or moon. Without being able to see the sun and the moon, the young couple soon began to lose track of time. The sundial in the veranda became useless without a shadow casting across it. Can you imagine not being able to see the sun moving across the sky or the moon waxing and waning? Imagine the mess this created between the two lovers. At first they tolerated life within this strange gray fog. Day after day the mist remained, and after several months without the sun, the two had completely lost their sense of time. They had become time blind. Hypergometes' flighty moods and ever-changing body began to bewilder Redipulyseus. One day, after fishing, he spent too long on the ocean, and he expected her to be a wild youth, but she was an older woman. He threw down his spear. "I can't tell what time of day it is. I never know where you are in your onus." "Well, no need to get upset. I miss our lunches together, but when I see you, I can never tell if you're going to be a girl, a woman, or elderly." "Perhaps there's another way to measure time, love." "Yes, let's build a clock," he said. "I know how we might do it. We can make an amphora, from which water might drip out of a pinhole and fill a succession of smaller pots." "Great thinking." "I can make these pots too. As the day passes, each pot will fill the next, and we can easily mark the time." "Yes, and I can pour the pots of water back into the amphora to restart the clock. Will this fog ever leave us?" "I don't know, my darling." "Well, at least we can be somewhat normal still. Right, love?" "Yes, Hypergometes." But their newfound relief only lasted a few weeks, because a new trouble arose. Without the sun to bake the island in its heat, the clay figures that Hypergometes had made had stopped drying and began wandering around the island. Even the ones that had already dried up began to come back to life as they moistened in the damp fog. Some of the clay men were sculptures of beautiful men, but others were lumpy and broken, like little ogres. Some of these could speak a few words, but most would moan and groan as they staggered about, or utter meaningless squeaks and gibberish.
"Look, pretty lady, pretty lady."
A few were like cats, curious, and would walk everywhere, causing a nuisance, entering the house, and climbing up on things. And a few of these clay men were mean and would smash the pots Hypergometes had made.
Destroy it! Destroy it! Yay!
Oh no, Redipulyseus! The clay beasts have found the water clock and destroyed it. What? How? They knocked over the amphora and broke up the pots. By the gods, what will we do about your onus? It'll be okay. We'll be fine. Within a week, Hypergometes was lost within time and confused all day. And Redipulyseus began to suffer, as his moon pattern of confidence would make him furious and frustrated. He began to lose his patience, raising his voice at his woman and at the growing hordes of clay men teeming around them.
Talk to the pretty lady.
I hate these clay zombies. I know. They're awful. They scare me. Why did you make so many? I? Yes, they are your fault. You blame me for this madness? You and your silly clay zombies. You are a zombie. Now be gone with you. She became afraid because she needed him at night when she was weak. Without Redipulyseus, she was in much more danger. Redipulyseus began to shout at Hypergometes at any time of day. It was particularly troublesome when he lost his temper while she was a little girl, because she would cry and run away. When she was an old woman, he would huff and groan at her senility and clawed hands. But when she was a beautiful and powerful woman, she wanted nothing to do with him. Redipulyseus is a fool. No longer will we dine together. He used to be such a man, but now, a shadow of the man he was. Blast this fog! Where is the moon? Because she could not see the moon, she lost track of where he was in his schedule of confidence, and she began to think he, with his changing moods, had become useless. She began to wonder if there were better ways of life for her, with better men somewhere else in the world. She stopped making delicious meals for them both to eat, and he stopped bringing her clay and fish. She fell out of love with this handsome man. Redipulyseus knew he was being lazy, but he could no longer tell when his phase of frustration and laziness would end. Hypergometes would grimace in disgust at him, and she, in turn, then became someone who Redipulyseus feared. As Venaceteria floated on the ocean, she laughed in exquisite delight at Redipulyseus raising his voice at everything.
Yes, it's working now. And it only took a single spell, and only a little while. My goodness, how frail and weak are Earth Mother's children.
Without time, Hypergometes began to forget about her onus. She ignored that she changed throughout the day. Whatever phase of growth she found herself in was the age she believed she would always remain. Especially during mid-morning, when she was a blazing beauty, she felt as if she had all day to be a strong, young woman. Redipulyseus tried to find his love, especially during these times, as now he was always hungry, but she shooed him away. Then in the afternoon she would wander up near the overlooks of the island cliffs to dream. But then, without warning, she became stiff and tired, and her fingers would twist into those of an old woman. And she would get stuck in various places around the island, often all night long in the cold, wet mist, which was very dangerous for this frail old woman. One afternoon she rested on her favorite windy cliffs, thinking of how strange life had become. How can I free myself from this onus, this burden of time? It is impossible. Time cannot always be this ruling and rhythmic force over me. She rubbed her knuckles and winced at the pangs of sharp pain. Surely there must be a way for time to only be like water passing out of the smashed amphora water clock. I must find a way. She threw up her arms into the wind. "The curse of time, begone! Onus, begone! I renounce all time!" She broke down in tears. Meanwhile, watching this in the distance was the sea witch in the form of an ocean bird. She was reveling in this anguish, so she flapped her wings and landed near Hypergometes.
"You can do something about this, you know,"
the bird said. "What?" she asked.
"You can remove the curse."
"How? You must tell me, wise seabird, for I am desperate."
"It comes from your man. He brought the curse upon you. He is the source of your onus."
Redipulyseus? He caused this?
"Yes, it was him all along."
Why, of course. He is the only thing I have not tried to change.
"Now you understand."
How do I relieve the curse?
"Make a mask of clay that matches the face of your man and place it upon him. Then ask him to share his emotions with you. This will lift the onus and save you."
The very next day, Hypergometes, skilled in all manner of sculpture, did this. She made a clay helmet for her ruined man. She sculpted it perfectly, dried it, and painted it, making it look exactly like him. The seabird watched from above.
"Yes, perfect! For with this mask on him, your onus will fall away, and your body will stay the same, just as his does."
Oh, clever creature, what a good bird you are!
"Now call him over and place it upon him."
Oh, boy! Redipulyseus was delighted to talk with her because they had not spoken in several weeks. "Yes, my love? Put this helmet on and let me see how dashing you look." "That helmet is incredible. Anything for you." For he was desperate for her and quickly put on the helmet. "Like this? Now, tell me how you feel." "Strange. With this helmet on, I feel vulnerable." "Vulnerable? You mean you feel weak?" "A little." In that moment, within the helmet, Redipulyseus could not believe what he saw, for he watched her eyes flash in fear and her mouth grimace in disgust, because he had transformed, in the eyes of Hypergometes, into one of her clay men. "Is everything okay?" he asked and reached out to touch her arm. She recoiled away. "Oh, what's this?" "My love, I am here for you," he said, moving after her. "I hate the gibberish of these trolls, awful creatures." "Gibberish? What's wrong?" Her face turned into one of terror and anger, and she shouted at him. "Begone with you, horrible troll! I hate you!" She turned and stormed away, thinking this troll creature would harass her. "But Hypergometes, I am your love. Can you not see? It is I, Redipulyseus." Hypergometes stormed away in fear and shouted, "I will make a handsome clay man for myself." Redipulyseus was stunned as his love escaped. "What is happening?" The seabird flew off, bugling with laughter. Over the next few days, life on the island was complete chaos for Redipulyseus, for he never removed the clay helmet Hypergometes had made for him, and he had no idea that it was the very thing she hated most. And for Hypergometes, things grew much worse. She was getting to know the clay figures in a new way, and became curious about some of them, especially the handsome ones that she had made. "I sculpted these figures with my own hands. I should be in command over them," she thought to herself. But each day these clay figures seemed to become more manly and macho. "Make us more cakes! Make us more food!" the zombies shouted. "My sculptures are becoming quite rude," she thought. They were lazy, but they would also chase Hypergometes around the grounds of the farm. They were ravenously hungry and ate everything they could find. But they only chomped on the food and it fell from their clay mouths, and so they always ate, but were never satisfied. When she fed them, the clay zombies would chatter and cheer about her, making up songs about her and making her feel important. Redipulyseus was amazed at these clay figures.
What is happening with these zombies? Why does Hypergometes feed them, but not me? We worship you, Hypergometes.
Soon she began to see them as useful and picked favorites among the crowds of clay zombies. When I feed them, they become nicer. Perhaps I can get them all to work not against me, but for me. And she was also interested in the handsome clay men that walked about. The larger sculptures look so handsome, and they seem so familiar. Soon she realized the zombies' appetite for her attention was insatiable, and daily life grew dangerous for her, no matter what time of day it was. During the morning, when she was a small child, the zombies were mean. They bossed her around and scared her, were physically menacing, and would sometimes throw rocks at her and call her names. When she was a woman, they were nicer and more talkative to her, and she could tell them what to do. It was in the middle of the day when she could control them through her attention by playing coy games such as peekaboo and decorating herself with shells and flowers. But she could also control them by disguising herself as one of them by tying up her hair into a bun and smearing mud upon her face. Soon the zombies could not see her for the true beauty she was, and they, without their precious jewel to harass, ran amok across the island looking for her. Then during the evening some days, as an old lady, they would ignore her, but other days they would rudely bump her around, knock her over, and laugh. She began carrying around a hammer with her at all times to smash any zombie that acted inappropriately or was rough with her. There were so many clay zombies causing a commotion that she would trip over them, and once, right before she went to bed, when she was weak, one nasty troll pushed her down, and she hurt herself. Luckily, one clay zombie was there to help her get into bed. This was, in fact, Redipulyseus, with his helmet of clay still upon him. She did not recognize or remember her man because he looked and sounded like all the other clay zombies.
Come over here to sleep, Hypergometes. I have made your bed for you. Now, sleep safely while I watch over you.
But Hypergometes heard only gibberish. The next morning, Redipulyseus saw a clay sculpture grab Hypergometes inappropriately, and she struck it dead with a hammer. Redipulyseus became afraid of Hypergometes and left the house. She never saw this nice clay zombie again. Redipulyseus stood outside the house amongst the teeming crowds of clay zombies.
Does she not remember me at all? She is so busy with these clay monsters. Do I not matter to her?
He threw up his arms.
All she cares about are these little thugs.
He walked away, sad and alone. Hypergometes was beginning to figure out these clay creatures and turn them into her minions. "Okay, gather round, you clay babies. I have a deal for you."
Yes, we love deals,
the zombies shouted. "I will cut out windows in the door, and you may watch me through them, but you must leave me alone and you cannot touch me."
Oh, okay. No touch, no touch.
She would allow the clay zombies to look inside and watch her during the day, so long as they did not come inside. She asked them to bring her mountain flowers and write poetry to her, and they would clamor for her attention. Hypergometes could hardly hear herself think over the noise they made in their attempt to write and speak poems to her. The zombies were so eager to appease her with bouquets that soon the entire island was barren of her beloved flowers. And soon, however, they became so violent and competitive about who could see through the tiny windows, they would splinter the door apart, and Hypergometes had to run away in terror. Redipulyseus watched as Hypergometes gathered up her clay zombies outside her house. They talked greedily about eating her food. "Listen, little men, I know what you want. I have plenty for your greedy stomachs." Redipulyseus was shocked at who Hypergometes had turned into.
What is she doing with these trolls?
But she was only trying to survive. Her hair was different, she was dirty, and she seemed so tired that she looked zombie-like herself.
Who has my love become? I can barely recognize her now.
"Stand at the windows now, little boys," she said, "and I will feed you the food you love. I made it special just for you." The trolls erupted with cheers. "You belong to me now!" Because all of the trolls revolved themselves around her, she came to believe so would the entire world. The seagull chimed in within the chaos.
Now you are master of the world. Should you be a slave to the horrible sun clock? Demolish it! Destroy the clock!"
Redipulyseus chimed in.
No, not the clock. You will be injured as you age. You'll get trapped in the mountains as an old woman.
"No, I won't, fool. I refuse to march to its drumbeat. Now, smash the sun clock, little beasts. Smash it!" The clay zombies swarmed upon the flowers and pots of the sundial and pulverized it. "You there, big one! You may come inside and dine with me. You others, stay outside like the puppies you are." Redipulyseus knew what she was about to do. She was going to feed them. She cast out the food, strewing it everywhere as if feeding a flock of birds. Like ravenous gulls, they flocked upon the food. And as they fed, Redipulyseus in his clay mask watched from outside the house as Hypergometes brought the one tall clay man into her dining area. After they ate together, she showed this tall clay man the door and then placed her face into her hands and wept at this madness. Then, to hide from the zombies, she took some clay and rubbed it over her face and ran out of the house to spend the night in the mountains, cold, alone, and weak. Vanasateria, meanwhile, still in the form of a seagull, bugled in delight and cawed out in victory.
"Oh, how easily I destroyed these two fools!"
The witch whispered to the girl.
"You are in command of the entire island. An entire army of clay minions are at your beck and call. What will you do now that you are master?"
Hypergometes fell down into tears at the loss of everything she knew she was. The witch was horrified at the girl.
"You are so weak. I knew you couldn't handle it. The gods' creations are so pitiful. Time to destroy this entire island and burn everything on it."
Redipulyseus was overwhelmed with sadness and dove into the ocean. He had a single goal now: to die. Redipulyseus was swept up by a current and carried quickly far out to sea. He knew he was close to death, stopped swimming, and let the heavy clay helmet sink him down into the blackness of the ocean. Several sharks swam about, getting ready to feast upon the strange shape that sank past them. Then Redipulyseus heard a long, eerie song. An enormous, shadowy shape approached him, took his hand gently in its mouth, and carried him downward. To be continued. Will Hypergometes betray Redipulyseus? What will happen to Redipulyseus? Find out what happens to the lovely Hypergometes and clever Redipulyseus in the next episode of Myths for Today's Man. Remember, your likes and subscriptions matter, and so does your voice. So please share your comments below or engage with me on Twitter. Until next time, this is El Zorro Plateador.